Look back on 2013, sort of how do you think the years went for the Birmingham Business Alliance?
Well, Grayson, I think we've had a lot of positives over the last year. I still think we've got a lot of stuff to work on. We started the year thinking, this was going to be a lot of good things happening in 2013, and that we ought to take advantage of that and talk positively about that, not only in the city and in Birmingham, but in the region, but across the country. And I really think that has gone extraordinarily well. I think that starting with the region's ballpark and the success that grand opening had, the accolades the ballpark itself has gotten, the championship season for the Barons, I don't think you could have really asked for a much better beginning to the moving of a ballpark down into the city of Birmingham. Which
when you win the championship the first year the stadium's open, that's a fairly high bar to set.
That's right. So none of us have to keep up with that as they go forward.
Then, of course, we had the 50th year commemoration of the Civil Rights Movement here in Birmingham.
Right.
Well attended, a lot of national recognition for our community and tremendous community involvement.
It was, and it was all positioned very well. I thought that Mayor Bell and his staff just did a tremendous job in how they positioned that from a local and a nationwide point of view, in that we're obviously commemorating the past but looking forward to the future
and celebrating the progress.
That's right, and it ended up very well and got a lot of good media around the country for our city. And I think that continues. I think there's some momentum that has come from that we can continue to work on.
Well, you look at the economy through 2013, and obviously we'd all desired a stronger economy, but it's made incremental progress. It's been, if you will, slow and steady. Right. But when you look back over job creation in our community and think about 2013, sort of, what are the biggest points that come to mind?
Well, most of the job creation this year was from internal companies expanding.
Existing companies.
Yeah, existing companies expanding. And the one thing that we've learned over the last 12 to 24 months as a BBA, and Brian and the staff have gone out and started doing have a lot of discussions with our membership, is there really are a number of opportunities for expansion here in Birmingham amongst our existing companies, and so we're beginning to take advantage of those. And so most of the growth this year came from that. Now, that's not to say we ought not still be focused on bringing new companies into this city. And I think we made some strides there. We're working, I think, more closely with UAB and with the Department of Commerce and developing those relationships and to be able to tell our story to more people around the country. We had some really good prospects come in to the state, and I thought had a great showing of our community. And it's just hopefully about time for one of those to hit for us, and we get kind of a marquee name coming in here. Hopefully that'll happen soon.
Well, UAB plays such a critical role in our community. Not only the largest employer in Birmingham, but the core provider, if you will, of sort of our workforce development. They provide students in training that largely determine the depth and character of the workforce that we as employers have available each year. And they've worked with our business community very closely to try to identify those segments of education that we need most. Technology has been an unbelievable demand in our city over 2013 and continues to be today. And I think UAB is doing a lot to help us support that effort. In our industry, cybersecurity has just been a new challenge for us and for all of businesses. And UAB's made a tremendous commitment into that aspect of protecting our country and our businesses and ultimately our communities.
They have. I really feel like we have developed, the BBA has developed a great working relationship with all the way from Dr. Marquez to Dr. Watts. This whole year has been one of the growth in that relationship. Us understanding the BBA, understanding what's going on at UAB, helping them, actually partnering with them. We were able to partner with them this year on a specific NIH grant that we were awarded for about $600,000. Work with them on cybersecurity, but it's a two-way street too. I mean, UAB is working with us, like you said, to try to understand what employers need. Financial services industry being probably the most important industry to our community, and what it's needed in that space, and what can the education community do to help fill that void. And so I feel really good about the relationship that we've got for our community with UAB and the business community moving forward. I think that's a great opportunity we have next year. I think is just continue ramping that up, and with us kind of playing the role of being able to tell the story nationwide, helping them tell the technology story nationwide, and then helping us with the employees and the workforce that we need in order to grow our businesses.
Well, it's great to see the sort of balanced approach that the BBA has with an awful lot of focus on economic development, of attracting new companies to our communities, but also investing in existing companies and investing in our workforce to make it a more attractive community to relocate into. And we've had growth on both sides of that. To your point, in 2013, we probably had more growth out of existing companies than we would have expected going into the year.
Yes.
And so that's been a real positive shift in momentum for us. Unemployment in the city has gone down over the past 12 months. Right. Incrementally much better feeling today than a year ago. So we ought to all feel better about where we're at, but we've got to sustain the momentum going into 2014.
Yes, we do. It's, UAB's focus on economic development really, it was great before it took a giant step forward with Dr. Watts. He came in immediately, opened up the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, made it a focus of the university, made economic development one of the pillars and one of the goals of UAB. And you take that and you combine that with the Innovation Depot and what great work they've been doing over the last 2 or 3 years as an incubator. There is a lot of momentum. It's just up to us to sustain that and to keep our focus getting even more sharp kind of every year to move that forward.
When you look at the partnership that's been formed between the private and public leaders in our community, looks to me like an awful lot of progress has been made over the last couple of years. Your thoughts?
I think we have. I think the word that comes to my brain when we think about that is stabilized. I think we've in the county scenario, it's stabilized, and we've got things moving forward, and so I think our relationship with government is as good now as it's been since I've been here. And it's just a matter of us all kind of figuring out how to move that forward. The BBA kind of took a step out whenever it came to the local school board elections. We got involved with doing some training of the candidates. Didn't get involved in the election campaign process per se itself. We don't do that, but did get involved in a training session for the prospective candidates for that election, and I believe that helped. But I think the whole local government structure is in a lot better shape, and hopefully we can continue to work really closely with them in the future, because I think that I think we all see, what's good for business is good for government, and what's good for government is good for business.
Well, we all play a different role in the community, but at the end of the day, it's one community. That's right. It has to be one team.
That's right.
For us to move forward in a way that sort of maximizes our opportunities, we do that best when we're one team.
That's
and
right.
You get the real sense that the team's coming together better at this point than ever before.
I do. And we've all got while we're one team, if we can just kind of recognize our strengths of each of the players and use those strengths. For example, image enhancement is kind of a strength of the BBA. I mean, it's something that we excel at. I think we know how to tell the story of the city far and wide, and to the extent that we can work not only with UAB, but with county government, local government, other businesses, other economic developers around the state, I think we can take another step up.
Well, the city's really enhanced the quality of life, not only through education, but through the enhanced park system and through work being done on the entertainment district, but the work that was completed on the baseball field, but also the work that continues to enhance the visitor's perspective of our city, investments in a new hotel. It's been a good year for our city.
And that's it's been extraordinary to see the number of articles that we're beginning to get, all the way from New York Times to...
And most importantly, positive articles.
Good articles. I mean,
Absolutely.
positive articles about the city and the quality of life here. And that's something that we've always all known that we have, but it's not something we've been able to tell the story of too robustly. For some reason, we had this. We did the marketing study when the Blueprint first started. The best piece of advice I got from that was the young lady came in and she said, "You people in Birmingham need to leave the word 'but' out of your vocabulary."
Right.
She said, "I've been here and I've been watching. I've been seeing the quality of life." And you'll talk and you'll say, "Boy, well, we just have the greatest this, that, or the other, but." And just the best is that leave the word but behind. So, and it has been but it's been a great year for what others are saying about us and beginning to recognize that. And it's going to take some work to figure out how to keep that going.
Sustain it.
That's right, because it doesn't just keep happening.
Well, I know your company does, and ours as well. We recruit people nationwide to come to Birmingham, and more times than not, people don't have much of a perspective of what to expect when they come to Birmingham.
Right.
I think the mountainous terrain surprises them initially.
It does.
But the big thing that surprises them is the quality of our community.
It does.
So many people who have relocated here to different companies headquartered in Birmingham never leave. It's a great place to live, great place to raise a family. But we really need to have a better outside image that makes people more aware of what we have to offer.
That's right. I agree with that. And we also need to come back to that one team approach too, as far as working with each other within the community to make sure we continue to improve the quality of life throughout our region, and make sure that places like Railroad Park keep developing and keep getting better, and make sure that the ballpark, Regions Parks, keeps getting better as we go down the road. But there's no question all of us believe in it with a real sense of urgency, and so hopefully we're going to be able to keep that going.
Well, the Birmingham Business Alliance, represents an awful lot of businesses in our community, and we all are aware of how important small businesses are to the overall economic growth. Mm-hmm. And the Birmingham Business Alliance tries to provide a real value proposition to the small business, to give them the opportunity to access the resources and knowledge within inside the BBA to help their businesses. And your thoughts on how small businesses have approached BBA over the last year?
Well, I think that we do make it a priority to try to work with small business and give them the value proposition that they are looking for. I also think that there's a different value proposition as you get between small and medium and large size companies. I think each of them, those areas have different things that they want to see. I believe that kind of small business is where the majority, obviously, of your businesses are, and so we've got to keep a focus on what those small businesses need to get going and to succeed, and to be able to borrow money from banks and
right.
and do things that help our total economy.
Well, during 2013, we announced a $1 billion loan pool in this community to try to help accelerate lending to small businesses, because we believe strongly that part of the strength of our community is the financial literacy of our constituents as well as the financial literacy of our small businesses and the availability they have to credit. And during 2013, we tried to push through a lot of the feelings that credit wasn't available to small businesses, and we've been real successful with that. We're a long ways towards fulfilling that goal of extending $1 billion in credit to small companies. I think the key though is most small businesses over the last few years, as we've gone through the economic recession, have gotten pretty conservative, and they want to make sure they're getting value for their dollar. And I think that's where the Birmingham Business Alliance is being challenged to make sure that we're giving all of our businesses that are participants in this initiative, that we're giving them value and that we're really driving a stronger community and more jobs and more opportunity in the greater Birmingham community.
I agree with that totally, and not only from a small business point of view, but just if you were to turn to workforce development for a second and think about workforce development and how that actually works. It becomes a very complicated topic very quickly. And what's so strange about that is it shouldn't really be all that complicated. It's employers have jobs, potential employees have skills, and we need to figure out how to put those two together. And but when you start doing it, it gets very difficult. And I really think that the BBA has a role to play in that space, in the space of understanding its members, small, medium, and large, what their needs are as far as employees of the future and employees today, and working at a grassroots level almost to go help recruit and help find the employees that our members need. We started it in first kind of event, I guess, was right before the Magic City Classic, and we brought 30 students from Alabama State and Alabama A&M. Brought them here on the Friday before the Magic City Classic. These were some of the great performers in both those schools in the financial and data systems area. Pairing them up with regions and with several other banks and insurance companies within the city, have interviews, let them meet, let the students tour the city, and I think that is an example of the direction we need to go. But it's a first step, and we need to build on that and keep building on that as much as we can, because I think that type of grassroots activity is something that can actually get us moving and actually do a lot of good for our membership, and actually have something positive that people can look at and say, here is the value.
Well, and as you well aware, the one segment of our community that has recovered the slowest in terms of finding jobs is our youth.
That's right.
And so these people coming directly out of college today face a little bit more of a challenge than we faced a few years ago. But the better prepared they are, and the better engaged the business community is with people like UAB, the more likely we are to try to create a good positive experience for young individuals that have prepared themselves to come into the workforce.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of all us breaking down the barriers between that kind of naturally exist in order to talk and have the discussions necessary to have an understanding of what we need as employers and what the educational systems can help us with as we move forward. And I don't think I've ever had a better sense of that relationship being one that can move that forward than I do today.
Because by and large, the BBA really is playing a facilitator role.
That's right.
And the core of our community has to perform, but BBA can play a leadership role in making sure that the facilitation of all the players on the team work well.
It's almost it's a lot about just information transfer. It's just about people understanding and moving information from the employer community to the student community to the education community, and making sure that stays at the forefront of people's minds.
And building relationships. Building relationships between individuals you might not otherwise know had you not participated in BBA.
Right.
But it gives you an opportunity to meet those people. And at the end of the day, those interactions can create opportunities that otherwise wouldn't have existed.
That they can. And if there's one thing in this city that we've got going for us, it is the relationships between the business leaders in the city and the UAB, and just the whole city itself has a relationships going that it's unlike any that I've been in my career, and we ought not to waste that. We ought to take full advantage of that and move and allow those relationships to move us forward and to help our businesses grow, our universities grow, our new technologies to come into the city, and have new technology companies for which we have innovation depots sitting there ready to take them in and nurture them and move them out. And there's a lot of good stuff happening right now.
Well, Fred, when you look back over 2013, you really started off with this. I look at it as a strategic plan for the Birmingham Business Alliance. Internally, we refer to that as the blueprint, the Birmingham blueprint. But it's really about a broader community. It's, obviously, we have a very broad community that we influence here, both locally and across the state. And this business strategy that was developed, called the blueprint, a lot of time spent on strategy. Now that time's being spent on execution. So how should we think about the strategy? How should we think about blueprint going forward?
I've tried, I guess, during this year to, number one, to keep the focus on blueprint and to keep the focus on all four of the work areas within blueprint. But then also to make sure that we all understand that blueprint and all it does is about laying the foundation for economic development. That said, we had a really good year in the blueprint. There's a lot of good things happened in the public policy space. We've made a lot of good headway, I think, with our governments around the region, with stability coming into to those governments, with just a lot of with the Northern Beltline. The Northern Beltline is now poised, I believe, to start construction, which has been a long time in the making, but I think we're there with that. Also in the public policy realm, we had a successful time with the legislature passing the historic tax credit, which should help construction and investment in downtown Birmingham as much as any part of the state. And we've seen that already with the applications that have come in, and hopefully that will keep moving forward, and we'll see that investment in some of the older buildings down here taking place, starting actually in 2014. If you look at workforce development, that's where we've kind of started this focus on employer needs around our region, and trying to match those up with educators and employees and potential employees and their skill sets, and how can we be that bridge that comes that allows those things to start working more clearly together. If you look at my notes here right quick, if you look at economic prosperity, I think that the main focus on economic prosperity has been this technology issue, and that is, finding our niche, our future niche as far as our area, and trying to make sure that people around the country understand what that is. And technology is obviously not the sole niche of our community. It's a lot bigger than that. A lot of things going on in a lot of other cities and regions other than just in technology. But it is a real potential for our area to grow in that space.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at the greater Birmingham community, you think a lot about healthcare and what healthcare has meant, to our community. But with UAB being the largest employer, but you don't necessarily associate all that with technology. Right. But between healthcare and financial services, in particular banking, and also construction, it's just amazing how many, technology-related jobs we've created in this community very quietly, that aren't necessarily attributed to any one industry, and sometimes hidden by the fact that they're inside an existing company, but it's become a more and more important part of our job creation. And they're good jobs. They're good jobs. And you look across the state and what's happened in the auto sector and the number of jobs and both direct and indirect that we've created around the auto manufacturing sector. It's just been very encouraging.
And it's not only in the larger manufacturers, but the technology is the driving force among a lot of your new startups. I mean, so it runs the whole gamut of growth. And so I think we've hit the right formula. I mean, I think we've hit the right formula. We've hit the right topic. Now it's just kind of up to us to move it forward. But the other thing we got to keep recognizing is that BBA is about a region, and it's about not only just Birmingham and Jefferson County, but we're about moving the 7-county region forward. And we've continued to work in those areas, had some great successes around the 7 counties this year, and look forward to kind of continuing to work on those relationships and make sure that we're bringing value to them as well, because we have a value proposition, I believe, to bring to those counties and to those cities. Some of them have their own economic development units, some do not. But I think we do have a value that we can continue to bring to them and hopefully help our whole region grow as we move forward.
Yeah, because Fred, I think it's real popular today to talk about small businesses and medium-sized businesses and large businesses as being distinct and individual, and they're not. When you look at job creation, a lot of small business job creation comes from servicing a need that a medium to large company may have. Right. And so it's really about job creation. Right. I think at the BBA, we're somewhat indifferent where the job creation comes from, as long as we do create good, solid jobs for our community. And I think that really is, best reflected in the way that we bring large, medium, and small businesses together to solve problems, because it's not about separating or distinguishing parts of the business community, but it's about bringing them together.
That's right. That's right. And if we can continue to do that going into the future and keep that dialogue going between all those sectors, combining it with education and the other stakeholders in the equation, we'll be a successful community.
Well, I think as we go into 2014, it's just important, critically important, that we just sustain the momentum and we make sure that we refine our approach, improve our approach to building a better and stronger team and building a bigger and stronger community. Made a lot of progress, but as we all know, it's a job never done. We've got an awful lot of resources in our community to be successful, but we really have to execute our strategies, and we have to be one team as we move forward.
And I hope I've helped you a little bit get this going, and I wish you all the best of luck in 2014. I know you'll take the ball and run a long way down the field with it.
Well, we know you're stepping down out of your role as chairman of BBA, but we know you're also not leaving.
Right across the street.
You're still part of the team, and we still need your leadership.
I'll be here to help every step of the way.
Thank you for a job well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.